Hi, my name is Saurabh, and along with Juhi, I am on the second episode with Juhi.
हेलो हेलो हेलो
कैसे हो
so
आप जुही क्या कर रहे
today I want to talk बहुत बढ़िया हूँ so I have a few questions this time about Gen Zs and millennials. So I'll start off with the first one. Are Gen Zs and millennials as widely different as they say? And I want to bring this in the context of US and the UK, because when you talk to people in the UK, they often try to highlight a lot of differences between them and the Americans, right? And there's this YouTuber called Nathaniel Drew. He talks about something called narcissism of small differences. It is where when two or more communities share a lot of similarities, they often try to engage in a lot of, mockery and try to be hypersensitive about minor differences. So do you think in that context, Gen Zs and millennials try to sort of magnify the differences that exist between the two? Because you work, I know, with a lot of Gen Zs as well as people or millennials and perhaps even boomers as well. So what's your take on this?
Wow. Uh, if somebody said don't ask tough questions in the beginning, I think Juhi did not get the memo. I don't even know how to comprehend this question. I swear, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I don't even know what the question is. I mean, I got the English that she's asking me some tough thing about different tribes and different conversations. So Juhi, I'm going to try very hard, but I think I'm way out of my depth here on this topic, but I'm going to try. Let's do it in the following manner. Uh, Let me articulate the question that you asked me, and then I'll try to respond to that. Is that fair? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, in one line, your question is: are Gen Zs and millennials as different as they make it between them, or is that the question? Is that the simple question in simple line?
Yes, that is a simple
Yeah,
question. Yes.
yeah, that's a simple question. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. Now I feel little qualified to respond to that. Okay, awesome. Okay, here's my answer. I think they are different for sure. In fact, I'd like to stick my neck out and say that not just the Gen Zs and the millennials, but uh, the generations of every 2 year seems to be different. Back in the day when I was learning marketing, there was this thing called boomers, as Juhi mentioned. Then there was Gen Zs and millennials and Gen X and Gen Alpha and all of that. Typically, these windows were about 10, 12 years long. I'm not sure of the exact numbers now, but I think that's about 10, 12 year long brackets in which we made these archetypes and stereotypes. I think those archetypes need revisiting. As a marketer, as an anthropologist, as a observer of the world around us, I think those archetypes need some bit of revisiting, purely because at least in the world I live in, people with like just 2 years of gap are different generation compared to their ones. So for example, there are a lot of people who are about 25 that I work with. They are very different from the folks that are 20s, and they are extremely different from the folks who are about 18, and they're very different from the folks who are about 17. And then on the upper side, people about 25 probably need a 5 year gap. So there are 30s and 35s and 40s and 45s. And then obviously the classification that we all know of, boomers and Gen Zs and Gen A, millennials and boomers will probably qualify. So my answer to the question, Juhi, is that yes, they're different. And the difference is not just between a millennial and a Gen Z, but also between those ages between 30 and 25 and 23 and 20. So if I were to classify people, I would say folks who are 18 are different from folks who are 20, are different from folks who are 22, who are different from folks who are 25, who are different from folks who are 30. So that's my classification. And these differences are very, very visible in everything that you can imagine, from the kind of work they choose to do, from the way they bring themselves to work, from the expectation that they have from the workplace, the kind of ambitions that they have, the kind of decisions they want to make. Everything is extremely different. And this is one. The other nuance, obviously, is a psychographic piece. Like, for example, if you grew up in Delhi, you would be a different 18-year-old if you grew up in, say, a Pune, and you'll be different from an 18-year-old who grew up in, say, a Calcutta, and so on and so forth. So the broad classification is there for sure. People are different from sure, and there are many, many nuances between each of those people. I'm happy to pick any of these 2 or 3 age brackets and talk about that with examples. But in one line, the answer is yes, they're different, and I believe they're different, and they ought to be treated with that respect, that difference, and that in that manner. So that.
So when you're talking about the differences, now let me come back. Uh, what are some of the good things that Gen Zs have managed to do? Because you work with a lot of Gen Zs, and so you would know what kind of changes have they brought to workplace or just generally.
So, okay, let's define Gen Z. पहले तो Gen Z define करते हैं so that we are all on the same page. As I'm talking to you, I'm googling Gen Z definition because obviously मुझे याद
Someone
नहीं है.
born after 1997.
Correct, right? So 97 to 2012 ka window is what they call Gen Z, which is like a 15-year window. So somebody who was born in 97 today would be what? How old would they be? I don't know, man. I'm bad in maths. How old would they be? To the 2026 chal raha hai na? So they'll be 20, 21, 22, right? They'll be from that age to uh, about about uh, about 35. Is that correct? My maths is very, very bad. How
30.
old are Gen Zs now? There was a time when I was, okay, 14 and 29.
30.
Okay. 14 and 30. Cool. I was not off. I was very off. Sorry. Okay. 14 and 20. So anybody who's 14 is very different from anybody who's 30, right? So for sure. So what I just spoke is we need to probably break Gen Zs into those tinier brackets and not just take one large chunk for sure.
Good things that they've brought to workplace
Got
specifically.
this. Got this. So a lot of good things have come to workplace. So these people, and let me use the word these people for everybody from the age of 14 to 25. I may not be able to talk about 25 to 29, but assuming मैं 25 साल के आदमी की बात कर रहा हूँ, इंसान की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो आज जो भी 25 साल का इंसान है, the best thing that they bring to the workplace is that they are not afraid to call a spade a spade. So if I'm, Juhi, giving you some gyan about how it is useful to work hard and how you should work 12 hours a day and how you should not have a social life, people at the age of 25 are willing to question that. Back in the day when I was 25 and a 35-year-old was 25, they didn't have the audacity to go back to their bosses, mentors, seniors, parents and ask them that question. That question has started to come in, that anything that we say will be asked as a follow-up question. So that's the first thing. Now, it's a good thing. Some people may say it's a bad thing, but I think it's a great thing. Why? Because it keeps people like me on the edge. I can no longer just pass on some gyan to somebody and hope that nobody will question it and everybody will accept it and I will be taken and assumed to be a smart person, and they will follow the line and toward the line that I have spoken to them about. They will not. They will want a clarification and answer. So that's the first large difference. They question everything. One. B, they are growing up in the world of abundance. And I say this with a lot of caution because not everybody is equal. Not everybody is has abundant resources. Not everybody is privileged. But an average young person today, average 25-year-old today, has a lot more abundance compared to average 25-year-old 20 years ago. What that means is that today they are no longer worried about दाल रोटी कैसे आएगी. They are no longer worried about कि मुझे सिर्फ इंजीनियर बनना है कि डॉक्टर बनना है कि architect banna. Back in the day, there were only 3 or 4 professions possible. Now there are like millions of professions available. Then they didn't have this confidence of having say कि मैं कर लूंगा. They may not have the money, they may not have the resources, they may not have the degrees, but they still believe कि they will make it. वो कैसे करेंगे नहीं पता मुझे, but they have this confidence कर लेंगे. In my generation, when I was 25, I had to ask my parents before I took a bus from my place to my college. And today, my best friend's daughter, she's 6, she lives in Singapore. She's 8, she's in Singapore, and she travels using public transport to her school by herself at the age of 8. Now Singapore is an extreme example, but a 25-year-old in India today does not need the permission and does not has a lot of confidence to be able to take large conversations on the head and then run their lives with it. So that's the second thing. And what that means is that people who are born in the world of abundance tend to be a little more, how do I explain? They tend to be a little more out there and willing to do things in a far different manner. In fact, one of the reasons that I love to work with young people is because their blind confidence and optimism makes me want to push myself more. That Juhi, अगर कोई 20 साल का इंसान मेरे से ज़्यादा मेहनत कर रहा है, I feel I'm not saying left out, but I feel stupid that if they can work hard at the peak of their life, what can I do about my life? So that's that. I love that about about them. And also just the third, I mean, I can go on and on, but I'll give you one more. Let me think. So one, I told you that they have huge, they are big on the confidence department. B, they are big on the abundance department. Okay. The third thing is that they are a lot more they're a lot more experimentative and exploratory in nature. So back in the day, we had a very set career path. School, you take science or commerce. If you take science, you become an engineer or a doctor. If you take commerce, you become a chartered accountant or an accountant. And if you took arts, you were a person who had failed academically to reach that place. Today, these things don't exist, and there are a lot of people who are engineers and yet content creators, and there are people who are liberal arts students who became lawyers, and there are a lot of lawyers who are becoming creators. So there is no traditional career path they're taking, and what that is doing to us, world, and the society around us is that we are seeing different disciplines being applied to problems that nobody else was applying to. So back in the day, an engineer would look at an engineering problem and try to solve it. So man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail, so they would solve it like that. But today, engineering is being looked upon by artists and designers, and they're thinking, how do we make things better for the world around us, and how do we solve those problems? So I think that's a great place to be at. So the third thing is that they are a lot more experimentative, exploratory, and so on and so forth. And that's the last thing that I would sort of leave you with. These are the three things.
Okay, now we discussed the good stuff. I want to point out I want to rather ask if there's anything wrong with Gen Zs.
Did you say, is there anything wrong with Gen Zs?
Yeah, because I have a follow-up question to that as well. So I want to know if there's something that you have in your mind that you think is fundamentally wrong with Gen Zs.
I'd say no. I mean, okay, so this is a question that will have different answers and different perspectives depending on who's asking and who's speaking and who's had what experience with people. So in my experience, in my background, in my awareness, I think I will not say everything is right, but I will say nothing is wrong with them. So okay, it's not an extreme answer. Nothing is right, nothing is wrong is not the answer. But I think they're fairly okay. If you were to ask me, and I'm probably biased because a lot of folks around me are in that space. I hope this gets me a lot of views and a lot of applause. But
I'm also Gen Z, by the way.
But you are the other. You're not the 22-year-old Gen Z, right, Juhi? But having said that, you are not. Juhi, you and other people, I think nothing is wrong with them. In fact, think of it like that. If this question was asked to me when I was 25, and somebody asked me what is wrong with is okay. Let me take a pause and get back. So think of it like that. If my father 20 years ago had asked me that, Saurabh, you are 23, do you think something is wrong with your generation? And if I asked my father if something is wrong with my generation, his answer probably would be in the same space that, तुम अपनी generation के लिए ठीक कर रहे हो. So Gen Zs today are living in today's world. So a 25-year-old today in 2026 is doing okay for a 2026 era. If I were to teleport a 25-year-old of today, 20 years ago or 20 years from now, they would be in the wrong era. So I think they are doing well today. It's just that the judgment that comes from an older person or a younger person is what screws the equation. Now, older people will probably have to accept it. Back in the day when we were growing up, it was modern for a woman to call me at my house on a landline because we had a landline phone back in the day. Today, it is probably okay for a young woman to step out till like 3 in the night and come back home without the parents asking for a tough question ki beta kahan gayi thi tu. So that, right? So I think that nothing is wrong with Gen Z per se, but they're doing what they want to. The problem is in the expectation mismatch that happens between the other generations working with them. So for example, I like to work in a manner wherein for me time is sacrosanct. If I say that I will meet you at 8 p.m., Juhi, I will be there at 7:55. And if I'm not there at 7:58, I will be apologetic and I will say sorry and I will say ki yaar galti ho gayi, late ho gaya. On the other hand, time is little more permeable and flexible for say younger people, which is आपके जमाने की बात है, वो मेरे जमाने की बात नहीं है, right? वो आपके जमाने की बात है, which is fine. I understand that and that's true for you. So I will hate the fact that a young person is okay to come late, and the young person would hate that I am 5 minutes early and I make it a big deal that आप 5 minutes late आए हो. So it's that, right? Then for example, in my generation, I had to work hard to make ends meet. Today, most people who are 20-25 don't have to work hard to make ends meet because उनके पेरेंट्स से पैसे कमा लिए हैं, उनको कॉन्फिडेंस है, उनके पास लोन है, blah blah blah, right? Now I'll be aghast if a 22-year-old tells me कि I'm taking money from my parents. And back in the day, I didn't start making money till I was 26. So I was dependent on my parents for a large part of my life. So it is not that they're wrong or there's something wrong with them. It's just that the ones who looks at them will probably find something missing compared to their life. Now, the beauty is in the following. If older people like me are willing to accept that younger people could be different, if I'm accepting of that, I think that's a good, beautiful place to be at. And the younger people accepting that older folks will have a different perspective. A lot of times young people don't do that. So if I tell a young person that zuban ki कीमत होती hai, young people don't appreciate that, which is, I understand that they don't appreciate, but should they appreciate what I am saying? Life would probably be far, far better for them and for me and for everybody around us. There's a quote that comes to my mind. I don't know why. I think Naval ka hai, kiska hai, mujhe pata nahi kiska hai, but the quote says, if youth knew and if age could. That's a quote. If youth knew, if age could. That's the quote, and that's a beautiful quote that defines me in the best possible manner. If young people knew, of all the follies that are going to, get in their ways, if they knew all the achievements and the ambition they could do, and if old people could actually do things that young people could do, and this is true for every age. If you go back to 1400s and 1500s and 1990s, if you go to India's freedom struggle in 1947, back in the day, young people of that era, if they knew that after 70 years India will become what we become, they probably will not fight for independence. I don't know. I'm sorry, but if older people there could do something different, they would do differently, right? And same for me. If I am old, if like I was telling somebody the other day that I wish I was 20 today because the AI revolution. By the way, we are 17 minutes in the conversation and AI has come in for the first time. So that's achievement for a podcast in this generation. And drum rolls. Okay, coming back. So I was saying somebody that if I was 20 today, if I was old, if I was young and I was 20 and I had AI, I would probably change the world. And आई थिंक सबको लगता होगा, मतलब जब 69 में फर्स्ट टाइम इंसान मून पे गया होगा, उस टाइम पे जो 60 साल का आदमी होगा उसको लगा होगा कि शिट यार, इफ आई वर 20 आई वुड गो टू द मून एंड चेंज द वर्ल्ड. व्हेन इंटरनेट फर्स्ट केम इन, people who were, let's say, 60, they would have said, "Arey, internet aa gaya, what if we could leverage it?" Today it's AI, tomorrow it could be something else. But the fact of the matter remains that I think कुछ गलत नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक है. And the entire thought here is that you need to be more accepting of it, and you need to be aware that things happen, things change, and you need to be able to accept that and find a solution from there. Find an acceptable answer from there on. So I don't want to. Yeah, so that's my thought.
Right. Now, coming to something very controversial, Gen Zs are often credited for destigmatizing mental health problems. I remember back in 2015 when I had my first instance with depression. I think that's when I was quite scared about talking to people about this because there was a lot of stigma attached. And I'm very grateful that a lot of people on the internet generally, they were just very outspoken and slowly we've managed to destigmatize it.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think somewhere in the process, we've just managed to also glamorize these mental illnesses. That has become a problem because now very casually people are slapping labels like, well, I'm depressed without actually getting a formal diagnosis in the first place. Or we're not just talking again about mental illnesses, but also developmental conditions like ADHD and autism, which is not something that you have just because you scroll a lot of reels on the internet. Like during COVID, it happened to a lot of people. Their attention spans went down. But that's ADHD and autism is something you're essentially born with. So, and people are just making it a quirky trait these days that, I have ADHD, I have autism. Do you think that there's merit to the argument that yes, they've managed to somehow glamorize these issues, which is also a dangerous thing, by the way?
Yeah, got this. Okay. Disclaimer before I answer this question: I am not obviously a mental health expert, and I do not understand mental health as much as I must. So that's my first thought. Very, very honest submission. Second, I don't speak about this loosely, and I don't want to. I don't want to be the person who says things loosely on this topic, but I do have perspective and I do have thoughts on everything that we talk about, right? So I will pile on you with those thoughts. Okay, yes, the young people today have destigmatized mental health conversations. 100% agree on that. I also agree that they have glamorized it. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying that they have also abused this new narrative around mental health being a real problem that impacts young people. And what it's done is, like most things, one or two bad actors have spoiled it for the ones who really need that support and that awareness and that understanding. So that's my short answer. Yes, it's brought to mainstream by young people. Yes, it's been glamorized. And the third thing, Juhi, that you didn't add, what I will add is that there are some people who've abused and misused this newfound awareness to hide behind it and not perform. And I can give you examples of all three situations. So that's my answer. Now, where do we go from here? I do not know. But what I know for sure is that if you feel and you believe from deep down in your heart that you need help and you're going through something that is a mental health challenge, there are many folks who go out and who will support you, who will extend a hand, extend a shoulder, extend a ear to you. And I also speak with some bit of, not authority, some bit of, I don't know if I should say this on the podcast or not, but because I live an open life, I was in a relationship with somebody who had a lot of mental health challenges. And for the longest time, we didn't realize that she was going through a mental health crisis. वो तो कोविड में जब हम लोग अपने अपने घरों पे थे, it's when she realized कि oh damn, this is what I'm suffering. That's when she got help from a therapist, and today she must be okay. I'm not in touch with her anymore, but I've seen that up close, that how mood swings could happen, like cut say, and how things can change and so on and so forth. So broadly, my thought is so to answer your question, yes, and yes. You asked me two questions, but answer is yes, yes, and yes. Yes, it's been brought to mainstream, which is a great thing. Yes, there are people who misuse it. And what is the third one? I forgot the third one. There were three things that I said yes to. So yeah, that
glamorized.
Yeah, misuse. So okay, made it more aware, made it glamorized and misuse it. Also, I want to also say again, I don't say it lightly. I believe that I have a mild form of attention deficit syndrome. ADHD बोलते हैं, ADD बोलते हैं, whatever you call it. But today, Juhi, बात करते करते, I'm with you, and I'm missing those things. Nothing is wrong with my faculties, but I think attention is a problem for me as a individual, which is fine, right? I mean, that's me.
Right.
Did you get the answer? I'm okay to not give you a politically correct answer. So if you ask me a tough question, I'm okay to give you a tough answer.
No, I mean, I get the answer that you've given. It's just I'm a little more curious about how you've perceived this level of glamorization. For instance, I see a lot of people going on the internet and self-diagnosing themselves. Like there are plenty of tests available on the
I'm
internet.
one of them. I'm one of them, bro. I'm one of them, yeah.
There are plenty of tests that'll give you whether you have depression, anxiety, any form of disability for that matter.
Yeah,
And those tests, again, they say are not conclusive, but people just undertake some of those tests and they just sort of go around proclaiming that now this is
absolutely.
one of those things that I have, and now it's a trait, and capitalizing on it. I think that I see is a real issue. Which
absolutely.
What's your thought on this?
With you, 100%. I mean, that's why I keep saying, okay, let me start with my story first. So that's why I'm very sure about saying that I may be suffering from attention ADHD, attention hyper, ADD, whatever it's called. I probably am, because I have done the online tests. Online tests tell me that I'm suffering from it. But I haven't been able to go to a therapist or a trained counselor or a psychologist to actually figure that out. So that's A. So yes, there are people who do self-diagnosis, and they sort of wear it as a tag on their chest saying that मैं तो हूँ, and then they tom the entire world about it. So that's one. That's that. Also, thoda controversial hai, but let's talk about this. So there are people that I know of that have worked with me very closely, and they tell me that they're having a bad mental health day and they cannot show up for work. And then after about an hour on Instagram, I see them in a party. Now, probably their coping mechanism is to go to a party and get sloshed and dance their energies and bad vibes out. But I don't understand that spectrum. That एक minute में आप phone नहीं उठा सकते हो, and second minute में आप तैयार होके party में हो. So, and this is not just one isolated case. There are many cases, and a lot of folks that I talk to of my age and my sort of friend circle, they say that people misuse this to a large extent. one time, I mean, funny, it's a funny joke. One time, a man took a break saying that I need a break because my partner is menstruating and I will not come to office for 2 days. And funnily, the partner worked in the same office and she showed up to work. So I don't know how to explain that. And it's not, it's real, man. It's real. But yeah, coming back. So there is such conversations also. मतलब imagine a man taking छुट्टी because बीवी को वो है क्या बोलते हैं menstruate कर रही है. So yeah, so right. So there are obviously all sorts of extremes. What else on mental health amongst young people? I think there are. I think what I've seen is that at least in my experience, if I see that somebody is really working hard and yet struggling to perform, deliver, show up because of mental health or because of any issues, I think the world around me, at least the world that I have built for myself, has been kind enough to support those people. I remember there was a time, there was a lady who used to work with us at C4E, and she was extremely into pet welfare, and she would take long breaks from work to take care of pets in the gully and pets in the neighbor and volunteer at pet shelters. Now, obviously, I understood that for a long time and I supported her as much as I can. But here is the but, and I'll be honest, we are and were a very small company. Each person in the team has to lift weight to ensure the team carries forward and work happens. At a point, it reached a point wherein I had to take that hard call and say, Ki, Dekh, Ben, I know that you care for pets and I know you care for them and I know you work and I know you show up. But for me, at this point in time, it may not work out. So let's find an arrangement wherein you are able to discharge your passion and duties towards pets, and we are also able to justify having a team member who's going to contribute only a fraction of it. And I think that did not end very well, to be honest. That is one of those rare folks who've chosen to work with C4E who didn't end up on a good note. I have no no shame in admitting that I couldn't handle it well, but that's how it is. I mean, that's the harsh part of the world that we live in. So she was right, I was right, but together we could make it right. Now, I understand at a small company level of 10, 12, 13 people, I don't know how many we were, I think 20 people at that point in time. We are far smaller now. At that 20 people level, I couldn't manage that one person. Maybe a 200 people company could have one or two people who could be, let's say, balancing or juggling these things. But I think even in a 200 people company, they would make exceptions for 3-4 people at max. I think because companies are staffed in a certain manner. There is a certain need for the business to make money. There is a certain need for the business to take care of the entire business and not look at an individual. Businesses are soulless. Businesses are built for a going concern kind of a narrative. So that's my thought, and I do not know if this is going to give me any brownie points or will make me shed the remainder of the business. But yeah, that's my honest answer. I mean, there's one person that I was unable to find a thought. Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That is quite.
I can give you long answers. Should you want to push me, I'm happy to give you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Push karo, aayega.
My follow-up question to that was people have started to self-diagnose themselves, go
Yeah.
online, take these tests, and slap these labels upon themselves and make it a quirky trait.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on it?
Oh, I hate it. If I were to give you unfiltered answer, for sure, in the sense that by doing this self-diagnosis and talking about to the world per se, they're doing more harm to the ones who actually need support. But imagine if this lady that I talked about, she needed help in terms of taking care of pets. Now she comes from a privileged background wherein she lives in a bungalow and has like 5 pets at home, and she must be having a lot of money to take care of that. Now she's actually doing this service to ones who actually want to juggle a naukri and at the same time take care of street pets. So I understand that. So I hate that. I don't have any challenges or issues in people being public about their challenges. In fact, they must. But I do not know where we draw the line, specifically from the sense of how to judge if you're being honest or not. I have no way to judge that. I'm unable to look at a person and say कि तुम्हें क्या challenge हो रहा है, तुम्हें क्या problem हो रही है. I cannot do that. Like I was living with a person who was going through a huge mental challenge, and for me it was impossible to even judge that. And till the time she went home and she actually met a therapist in person in her hometown is when I realized that shit, man, there is like a lot of things that we don't know about. So yes, you must talk about it to the world for sure, but I do not know where the buck stops or the penny stops in terms of this taking advantage and not taking advantage. So I do not know the answer of that. But I wish people were more honest and more sensitive and more understanding about this entire thing about being out there with their diagnosis, analysis, certificate that they want to wear on their t-shirts. So that, in fact, I'm very mindful of how I use my self-analysis. Like I told you, I've been saying that I suspect. I'm not taking it as a prideful thing. I may make a joke out of it, but I'm not taking it as a proud thing for sure. Again, like I said, I do not know कि क्या निकलेगा, but yeah, that.
So again, it comes down to the terminology of the way you proceed with these things. For instance, you're saying, I suspect I have it, versus people slapping labels like I have it. For instance, if I'm feeling anxious and I tell the doctor I'm feeling anxious, there's a difference between saying I'm feeling anxious versus I have anxiety. Now, anxiety
Yeah,
is diagnosed.
yeah.
Anxious is a momentary feeling that you have.
I think I got this. So I'm going to interrupt you. I think it's also a case of giving the right vocabulary to people. You know, there is this popular chart on the internet that went around a few years ago, and now everybody uses it. It's like a thing wherein you have all the emotions of humans written onto it, and it gives a vocabulary that, you know, that anger could actually mean multiple things. Anger could mean disappointed. It's called Wheel of Emotions, right? So I'm just reading from it. So I can say that I'm angry. Angry could mean that I've been let down, I am humiliated, I'm bitter, I'm mad, I'm aggressive, I'm frustrated, I'm distant, I'm critical. Distant is further broken into withdrawn and numb. So you may be feeling numb, but you probably have the vocabulary of the word angry and you use the word angry, right? So this importance of vocabulary is also important, like you mentioned. A lot of people don't know about it and they use the word loosely. Like for example, uh, 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 how to explain? So let's say, let's talk about my ex. I don't know, I didn't want to make it about her, but let's make it about her because anonymous hai to that's okay. So when she said that, you know, I don't feel like going out with you, and I would be like, bro, मैं तो बेस्ट इंसान हूँ किसी औरत के लिए, तू मेरे साथ बाहर नहीं जा रही है, क्या कर रही है तू? And she would not have the vocabulary to explain why she didn't want to go out. And I would ask her, do you want to go to your favorite restaurant? Do you want to eat your favorite food? Can I go? Can I order a takeout? Do you want to watch reruns of your favorite sitcoms? I mean, they were obviously, I knew her, right? So I knew multiple things that would always put her in the right mood, and she would do it when she was extremely happy. And yet, for some reason, she would be able to say, "नहीं यार, मन नहीं है, feel नहीं आ रही है, vibe नहीं आ रही है." Now, for her, feel nahi aa rahi hai was a all-encompassing admission that she's not feeling it. And for me, I am, let's say, the caregiver. I was not, but she'll say, I'm the caregiver, I'm the companion, I'm the friend. I have no clue to understand कि भाई वो क्या उसको vibe क्यों नहीं आ रही है. And I would ask her that question, क्या मैंने अच्छे कपड़े नहीं पहने हैं? Is there body odor? Is there something that I did to tick you off? Is the weather not good? I don't know, man. Like I would ask her 20 questions and she would obviously say कि bro, मेरे को अकेला बैठने दे 1-2 घंटा. I'll be okay. I'll come back and I'll be worried as fuck कि यार मतलब वो अकेली बैठी है, मैं बाहर जाने का प्लान कर रहा हूँ, उसको बाहर नहीं जाना है. I do not know if I made a mistake. So this entire, and obviously she was I would think that she is overthinking a tiny thing that happened between me and her, but she would say कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, मैं तो ऐसे sad हो गई हूँ. So this vocabulary and language also makes a lot of difference, and I think what this internet has done is, internet self-diagnosis done two things. A, it has inserted vocabulary in the minds and hearts of people that shouldn't exist. Like for example, मैं depressed हूँ. आजकल लोग random बोल देते हैं कि यार वो depression का शिकार है. आजकल लोग random बोल देते हैं कि यार if I don't get through this college, I will get depressed. Bro, you probably mean sad. You don't mean depressed. You know, but the word has been inserted in the vocabulary, and that does A, more awareness, which we spoke about. B, the disservice comes from the fact that this comes the fact that जो इंसान actually depressed है वो सोच रहा है कि bro मेरी तो जिंदगी में मरने वाला हूँ और मतलब मुझे बात नहीं करनी है और मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है and you are sad at not getting admission into a college that you want to go to. मतलब how weird, stupid, crazy. Like I use the word crazy, right? Crazy could mean multiple things or multiple things. Crazy could mean excited crazy. Crazy could mean bad crazy, right? So this vocabulary probably needs some bit of awareness. In fact, this is a thing that I do with a lot of my friends. I should talk about it. Wow, funny. I haven't done this in a while. So with all my friends, I have a safe word. And what that safe word means is that if you use that safe word, which I will forget to be honest, because I don't remember what the safe word with Juhi is or with Chandni is or with Anshika is. I will have forgotten safe words. But I tell them that if you really need help, you're like down in the dumps and you're going to kill yourself or whatever. Pardon my, again, see, I use it loosely, right? I don't imply that you will go kill yourself. I use it loosely. That's the shit part of it. I tell them कि भाई तू ना ये safe word use कर and wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I will cut the call and come help you. This is that safer thing. In fact, इसके साथ ना एक video है Simon Sinek का. I will send that link to you, Juhi. I do not know how we'll put it up on the podcast, but it has a brilliant message from Simon Sinek that says that a friend of his wanted to take the extreme step in life, and the friend actually took that step, and luckily the friend was saved. And then Simon went and said कि भाई तू इतना ही मतलब life में problem थी तो you could have called me. And the friend said, I did call you. And Simon said, but that was a regular call. And the friend said, how do you know it was a regular call? There's no vocabulary, communication, conversation about that. That's why that safer thing came into my conscience. And I said that, probably, most people should be told to have, I'm nobody to proclaim to people, but I think most people should have a set of people that they can go to and use a safe word with and then feel safe with that. And for the world out there, you could just say today's not my day.
I think for Gen Zs and Millennials, this is all I had.
Okay, awesome. So what I did was on Twitter, I went and said that I'm going to go live on a podcast and I'll talk for 30 minutes. One person has asked me a lot of questions. I'm going to put those questions on the chat.
Right. This is interesting. So Vatsal Sangvi has asked, right?
Yes.
What do you make of the word young? Because even I feel this way. Like I know when I say that I feel a lot old as a 28-year-old, a lot of people tell me like there's so much to life, etc., etc. And I just feel like my life just somehow, it's just at the end, at the fag end. I've not done anything. So what is young really at this point?
यार ये ना बहुत ही लोडेड क्वेश्चन है एंड आई ट्राई टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू दिस इन अ सर्टेन मैनर. सो द अदर डे, कल परसों जब मैं बिल्कुल ही माइंडफक था तो मैंने क्या किया, आई वेंट टू ट्विटर, इंस्टाग्राम. माय इंस्टाग्राम वाज ब्लॉक्ड, राइट? सो आई डिडंट नो व्हाट टू डू एंड आई वाज एंग्री एट मेटा कि मेरे 15 साल का सामान चला गया फॉर लाइक I don't know what reason. So I went on Twitter and said, how old are you? And I went on LinkedIn and I said, how old are you? Same question put on LinkedIn and Twitter. And a lot of people replied. Somebody said 23, somebody said 43. One person, Ashok sir, he said that I am a 20-year-old with a lot of experience and he's older than me for sure. So he's definitely not 20. So that gave me perspective. Young is a state of mind for sure. Actually, no, let me qualify it. I'm not good with English, but let me use two words, and those words could be whatever: youth and young. Youthfulness is a state of mind, and young is age. So Saurabh is a youthful man, but he is not a young man. Is it okay? Is this answer? Is this definition okay for the rest of the podcast? So young is. Let me assume that Vatsal is asking for youth and not young. So yeah, youth is a state of mind. You could be 80 and you could still be young. And what is young? Young is curious. Young is full of life. Young is ambitious. Young is looking forward to things. Young is doing kida all the time. Like for example, I was telling Chandni some time ago कि even though मैं बुढ़ा हो गया but मुझे खेलने में बहुत मजा आता है. Now play could be whatever. Now play could mean that I'm playing a computer game. I'm playing with somebody's emotions. I'm playing with I'm doing whatever, right? Like play is fun for me. So I am 100% youthful. I may not be young, but I'm 100% youthful. And youthful is curious, ambitious, forward-looking, abundant, playful, excited, easily excited, exploratory, all the things that I spoke to you about. So I think that is the definition of it. Anybody who fits into that is a young person, is a youthful person. I remember Charlie Munger died at the age of 95 or 99 or something, I don't know, like late 90s. And I was reading an obit about him in some newspaper or whatever. And they said that even like before he died, like a few days before he was dying, he was doing what he loved the most. He was yelling on his phone, talking to Warren Buffett about making a deal. I think, Juhi, I think that's young, man. He died at 99. Can you beat that? He was 99. And he was working till the last minute. That was youthful for me. So my answer to young youth is all these verbs put together. And what's the question? That am I young? Is it for me? Am I young? I may not be young. I'm old by body, but I'm definitely a youthful man. I want to believe that. I do not know what the world thinks of me, but yeah. So that.
Right. The
Do I make
second question
sense?
is posted. Yes, you do. You do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
nice.
What is the essence of life? Now, of course, I mean, there's so many definitions of life is what you make it to be. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Life is this.
Oh,
Life is
I'll give you an answer.
life is like
I'll
a
actually.
movie.
I think I have an answer. I think I have an answer. Probably it's my age talking, not my youthfulness talking. It's my age talking. So life, no. I think. Okay. Here's my answer. Life is what you make of it. Life is like a giant mirror. Whatever you project into it is whatever life makes. Life becomes. If you look at it life from a hopeful lens, life will be hopeful to you. If you look at life from a sad lens, life will be sad for you. So that's A. The essence of life, I do not know what is the essence of life, but what I know is something that I lean on a lot. It's a quote by Kabir Das. It says साईं इतना दीजिए जिसमें कुटुंब समाए मैं भूखा ना रहूं साधु भूखा ना जाए. For me, that is life. I want to have enough to take care of my needs and wants, and I want to be taking care of folks who come to me for help. I want to be able to take care of my family and friends, and that's to me is life. I don't think there's more to it. I know that in the long term, all of us are dead. Hopefully, we'll be alive. Longevity will happen. Immortality will happen. But even if immortality happens, I think the essence of life will remain what you put into it. Imagine if you are 295 years old, and if you're a sad person, what is the point of that life, man? If you are sad and angry and pissy all the time, what is that life? It's shit. On the other hand, if you die at 18, but what a life you had till 18 would have been the best shit ever, man. That's what I think life is to me.
The next question is posed. As humans, what is it that we should never do? Now, this touches upon one's conscious and, how one sort of brought up and, what their worldview is. So what might be right for one person may not be, right for the other person.
You gave me the answer, man. That was going to be my answer. That you do what your OS tells you to do, and nobody else should dictate what you should do or should not do. Like for example, okay, I was talking to a friend. I have to talk to you about this. I was talking to a very young friend of mine, super young. She would be what 20. 1920 मुझे वो आके बोलती है should I build an OnlyFans for myself, and I was like what the f तू मतलब come on, life has started for you and there is so much you can do. You want to build an OnlyFans, and she said that's the fastest way to make money for me. And as the uncle or whatever father figure or old man in her life, I should have said कि नहीं भाई क्या कर रही है पागल है क्या पढ़ाई कर जाके tell your parents and blah blah blah. I said भाई तेरा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम ऑफ लाइफ अगर बोलता है करना है तो कर ले. अगर तेरा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम ऑफ लाइफ नहीं बोलता है और किसी और का ओएस है जो तू अपने ऊपर इंपोज कर रही है तो मत कर. Sit in a corner and sit down and think कि ये मेरे पास कैसे आया, and then take that action and then do that action. That's my answer. Very clear answer. Your OS is the one that should decide what you do in life. And here is my kicker. The OS gets built with time. मेरे केस में it has taken 43 years for me to build my OS. If I can give you this articulate answer about life and young and essence and la la la, it's taken me so much more time to learn. My sense is that you will build a OS fairly early. You could build it at 20, 25, 30, 35, whatever. But once you know that that's your OS, probably follow that and see where it takes you. And yeah, I don't have an answer to that question that as a human, what is it we should never do? Nothing, man. Like I am an adventure junkie. Oh, I remember back in the day, my bio used to say on Twitter that I'm an adventure junkie. In fact, my company is called Adventure Works Solutions, blah, 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 whatever. Because I saw adventure in everything I do. My company's culture book is called Choose Your Own Adventure, because I think adventure is a great word to have. So I think you should do each thing that is adventure to you. For me, Juhi, walking on the road at 9 a.m. is adventure. For you, it could be a daily thing, and for somebody, it could be the scariest thing ever. Like,
But I just want to ask, your OS is not entirely built by you. It's shaped by a lot of circumstances around you. For instance, when I was young and I was in law school, I had very rigid notions of कि ये गलत है, ये गलत नहीं है. So for
yeah,
me, plagiarizing my assignments was just beyond question. मैं नहीं करूँगी. Because it's just how I am. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to be honest. And I don't think it worked well because sometimes you also have to work smart. It dawned upon me at a very later stage कि हाँ यार, maybe shortcuts are sometimes the only way. You can't always be like कि मैं मुश्किल रास्ते से, because you know you're growing up and your parents tell you एक आसान रास्ता है, ठीक है, पर और एक मुश्किल रास्ता है, ठीक है. तो मुश्किल रास्ता ज्यादा अच्छा होता है because वो लंबा होता है, but वो ज्यादा अच्छा होता है. So I grew up with that, and somewhere my OS was also like I cannot cheat, I cannot do this, all of that. And later on in life, I realized that sometimes smart work is the way. Like, for instance, I was very averse to AI. You would know that. So I was very averse to using it. And to this day, I don't use it for my official work because I'm like, wo proper generate nahi karta results. I'm very reliant upon myself and my research when I have to work. So again, your OS is not entirely shaped, by you, but it's also shaped by circumstances around you. So how do you determine that? ये बाहर
easy
से
answer.
impose कर रहा है.
So that, okay, to answer the question, your OS is getting built by world. Obviously, your OS is being built by multiple things coming together. So first thing, your immediate environment, आपके parents, आपके neighbors, आपके दोस्त, आपका school, आपका मोहल्ला, आपकी कली, आपका वो. So that builds your OS, and that also brings me to the first question that you asked me. Today's 20-year-olds. So today's 20-year-olds are shaped by the internet. Back in the day when I was growing up, my most long distance friend was a guy who lived in a different gully from my house, because I did not know how to go beyond that gully. Can you relate to this, Chuy? आप एक गली में रहते हो, आप लेट्स से डी ब्लॉक में रहते हो किसी इलाके में. वो डी के बाद ई का आपको पता ही नहीं है कि ई ब्लॉक में कौन रहता है और वहां क्या चल रहा है. ई ब्लॉक could be some other like planet altogether. Today, you are on the internet and you have access to 8 billion people or whatever number of billion people are there on the internet. So your context window, if I may AI, is far, far huge. So young people today have a lot more awareness and a lot more context compared to us when we growing up. So OS will get built by your immediate circle. A, do we agree on that? Now जिसका जितना बड़ा circle उतना wide and उतना distinct or different OS. That's one. Second, think of it as okay. I'll also talk about book names that I think have helped me shape this. So there's a book called I forget the name of the book, but there's an entire concept called nurture versus nature. It says that when a child is born, depending on how the child is nurtured by the environment, the child shapes into a different person. And there's a school of thought that says that child का DNA लिखा हुआ है कि उसको तो murderer बनना है या उसको scientist बनना है. So that's nature. So people say there is nature into you and there is nurture into you. The debate is open. Nature है कि nurture है. I do not know what happened to that debate because I read that book long ago. It may be worthwhile to revisit that. Probably I'll do that in this conversation also. But okay. So that's one. Cool. Do we agree on this? So there is some DNA that you inherited from your parents' family lineage, and there is some nurture that happens. So that's one. Cool. Okay. Second, cat and the hot stuff. Let's say your friends told you कि अच्छा, it's okay to get drunk and go to class the next day. Now, first time you're experimenting because you're open, you'll experiment and say, चल देखते हैं क्या होता है. And once you reach your class, your teacher slaps you like nobody's business. You probably will never touch sharab again. That's your experiences that come from doing those things. Once bitten, twice shy, दूध का जला छाछ फूक फूक के पीता है, blah blah blah, multiple things from there on, right? So that will tell you कि शराब पीना okay है, class में शराब पीना okay. So that will become your OS का part. Third, there are things that you start to enjoy after that, and then उसके बाद you will come back and say यार ये करने में मजा आया, should I do this again? You know dopamine hit जिसे बोलते हैं, that you keep looking for dopamine hit per se. Whatever gives you dopamine hits, you will build that into your personality, and that will become the next layer of the OS. And then you will have a certain worldview that will get built, and then people then differ from there on. So some people will say कि मेरा worldview बन गया, अब I will find proofs that prove this worldview to be correct. And there are some people who will say, this is my worldview, let me find things that will negate the worldview. And there'll be people who will say, "ये मेरा worldview है, let me be independent, let me see what the world throws at me, and let me see where does it fit." My sense is that people on the third category will probably do well. People in the first category will get into a group thing kind of a thing. They will have friends who are like them. They will have people who will appreciate and support their lifestyle, etc., etc. There'll be hedonistic life folks. The second set of people who are always looking for negative things will always be pissed off and angry, and they'll be like, the entire world is wrong and we don't know what to do, and they will not know where to. The third set of people which are open to change will probably do okay, and that's where the life, I think, would be. And if you just put this into a loop of sorts, that will define what your life is and how your life needs to be built, and how you need to build your OS from there. So that's my answer, if I make sense.
Yes. His next question is passion overrated?
Is passion overrated? I will give you two versions of this question. As a young person, I felt कि passion हो, passionate चीजें करो, passion chase करो, blah blah blah. But today, as a 40-year-old, I say passion तेल लेने गया, पहले अपने पैसे कमा लो, फिर passion कर लेना. ये मेरा current answer है. Also, इसका एक answer है जो मेरे को शायद नमल ने बोला था, which I 100% agree on. He said that once you start making money, once you start getting validation, once you start seeing success, that things becomes your passion. So I believe in that जो भी तुम्हें, जिसमें भी तुम्हें थोड़ा सक्सेस, थोड़ा वैलिडेशन, थोड़ा रास्ता दिख जाएगा, वो आप उसके लिए पैशनेट हो जाओगे. ये मेरे को बहुत श्योर है इस चीज के ऊपर. So that.
Right. Next is effort just an excuse to escape reality? I don't see the practicality of this question. Is effort just an excuse to escape reality?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Okay, let me talk of, there is something called, कोलू का बेल. कोलू का बेल पता है आपको क्या होता है?
नहीं.
बीच में एक मिलर होता है, उसके चारों तरफ बेल घूमता रहता है, चक्की काटा पीसता रहता है.
हाँ.
Think of a pendulum. It keeps, right? कोलू का बेल गोल घूमता है, कुछ नहीं करता. It doesn't reach from A to B. It only moves in the circles. You know how they say chasing the dog chasing its tail, right? You get the metaphor in your head.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there are a lot of friends who will create work to escape real thinking. So they will say, यार बहुत काम है मेरे पास, मेरे को मीटिंग में बैठना है क्योंकि कोई मांग रहा है मुझसे कुछ फाइल, मुझे उसको फाइल देनी है. I cannot sit with you today. And that's amazing, right? And that means that they are escaping the hard work needed to sit with themselves and burying themselves in work. Like think of it as when we ask people to meditate, it's the toughest thing to do because sitting with your own thoughts is probably the scariest thing to do. It's easy for me to blame you, Juhi. It's easy for me to give you 20 deep answers to questions you're asking, but it's incredibly tough for me to think about them in my own head and mull over it. In fact, I tell my colleagues, friends, ki mujhse sawal pucho, because when you ask me, I will speak, and when I speak, my clarity will come and will come, right? So that's the mota thought around this. That it's a great question. I really think that people want to keep busy and they show effort only to escape reality. I think it's a great question. And I agree that a lot of people do that. They say that busy for nothing. Like if you ask somebody, "तू क्या कर रहा है?" वो कुछ कर नहीं रहा होगा, but जैसे बैठ के Instagram पे रील स्क्रॉल कर रहा होगा. तुम किसी और से पूछोगे तुम क्या कर रहे हो भाई, तो वो बैठ के अपना what do you call it, random scroll कर रहा होगा, random बातें कर रहा होगा. But for them, it is extremely important to say that मैं busy हूँ क्योंकि वो काम नहीं कर रहा है. तो broadly मेरा ये thought है, and I'm not repeating myself, but that's my thought. So yeah, that.
Finally, a very tough question. What is love, and why is love such an important concept for humans? Again, so many theories on what is love. Love is care, love is comfort.
एक तो गाना मेरा, what is love?
Mutual understanding.
There's a
Yes,
song, right? What is love?
yeah, hey, hey,
Baby, don't
hey.
hurt me. ऐसा कुछ गाना है ना?
19, 1990s का है, I guess.
I am from that generation, my friend. Okay, I do not know what is love. I honestly do not know what is love. And I'm probably the last person who should talk about it. The way I cannot talk about mental health, I don't think I can talk about love. I'll tell you why. Not because I don't love, not because I don't have the capability. My problem is that I love every fucking buddy, man. Juhi, I love you, and I love Chandni, and I love like 20,000 people on the internet. Even if you've like the Starbucks that I hang out at, I love all the people there, even though I don't like to talk to them, but I love them. So I do not know how to talk about love. I have abundance of love in my head. So I am not the right person to talk about it. But because it's a podcast question, and I'm going to talk about that on the podcast in a podcasty manner. So okay, I think I'll not talk about myself right now. I'll talk about the world per se. I think love gives meaning to people, and I think that's a question that's probably the second part of the question. Why is love such an important concept for humans? I think it's an important concept because it gives meaning to people, and all of us chase meaning. All of us want something to look forward to when we wake up the next day. Juhi, when you wake up tomorrow, what do you look forward to? You look forward to going to office. Do you love office? Probably not. But I mean, you may, but most people do not want to go to office. Sorry, I don't want to put you on spot, Juhi. A. B. Why do they go to office then? They go to office because going to office gives them the opportunity to make money. Do they have money? Probably not. But what does the money do to them? Money allows them to buy conveniences for themselves and for their families and their friends and chase their adventures. So each thing that you do is in service of having it come back to you and your loved ones in your family. Sign इतना दीजिए इसमें कुटुंब से भाई मेरे को अपने कुटुंब के लिए चाहिए. So each thing I do is to come back to myself. I think the true love is when you do things without even this expectation. And this could mean act of service towards somebody. This could mean, yeah, man, I don't want to get into 5 kinds of loves or whatever, but I think act of service is what my epitome of love is. I think love is this thing that makes the world go around. Maybe, by the way, okay, I have to talk about this. On a flight from some country to India, I saw Pushpa 2 or whatever. I don't know if you've seen that film, but the entire film is about love. The entire film happens because the guy protagonist loves his wife, and the entire film is about how he is doing shit for his wife. I mean, he claims obviously he's doing for himself, but end of the day, his ambition is also defined by his love for his wife. So I think love gives meaning to people. And should you find love, you probably would uh, uh, would do things that you probably would not do. So that
That was the last question then.
thank you so much for this. See you.